Welcome, collectors. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Diecast Emporium. We're going to get straight on with this video because I think we're going to probably have to use all of the half-hour time limit that I have on my phone to shoot these videos. We're going to go over all of the cars from the T case, or Mix 2 from 2021 of the Matchbox Basic Range. I previewed them in my last video, as I said, so let's get going. First up, we have the MBX Field Car. We are going to open every single one of these and take a closer look at them on the spin table. We're not going to spend any time at all on the card art because, again, in the previous video, I pretty much showed you that before. So let's bring the table up. Place your bets now for how many of these will try and run and escape from us. Let's see if we can get a zoomed-in view. There we go. So this MBX Field Car, number 17 of 100, I think is actually pretty cool to look at. It's not based on any particular vehicle. Obviously, it's one of their fantasy castings. But as you can look, you can see that it has a winch on the front of it and a spare tire on the back, as well as a trailer hitch, which is a good transition for our next model that we'll look at, which is the trailer trawler here, which is number 92 of 100. Again, another Matchbox casting. This trailer is unique in the fact that we've seen it before. I think last year it was in the National Parks livery. Now it's more of just a red and white and yellow scheme. But you can hook it up to this vehicle if you want. There you go. So let's get the Scout car out of the way. Put this one front and center. You can see that it says Red Valley Camp on the back. I believe that the whole top of this pops off. Yeah, so there you go. You can remove it, take the boat off if you want. Obviously, this top portion is plastic. The bottom portion, mostly the part of the trailer here, this is all die-cast. The yellow part is plastic, and then the base is plastic as well. But not bad. The two simulated bumper stickers that are done up in graphics, this one says I love camping, and this one says trail lover, I think. So not too bad. So that's the second one. All right, let's get a couple more of these, in my opinion, which are not very interesting. We have the Polaris RZR, number 41 of 100. Again, we've seen this for a few years. Nothing all that great. I really wish Matchbox would pay more attention to scale, obviously, because this is certainly not the same scale as, say, this. But for a dollar toy, because that's what these are, let's be honest with ourselves, it's not bad. It does have some decent detail with the protection structure here over the cab. It's mostly all a plastic design. There's really not much metal on here at all, except for maybe this middle piece. You know, I can really remember a time not too long ago when I was growing up that Hot Wheels and Matchbox, believe it or not, were mostly all metal. And those times are long gone, but it was certainly a great time to grow up. Long before social media, ironically, long before anything like this. It was just a great time to be alive. So with that bit of reflection that has absolutely nothing to do with this video behind us, let's go on to the next model. So we have the Express Delivery 89 of 100, another Matchbox casting fantasy design based on a delivery truck. We saw it recently as like a baker's bread truck or something. This one is some sort of digital recording amp device truck. Obviously, it has the orange inlay for the glass, the simulated glass, which obviously is plastic. If we look closer, it reads, and I will zoom in on this, Recording Sound Lab and Custom Digital Electronic Installations, Amp Express, All Musicians United, number 58. Amp 440, not sure what the 440 means. Maybe that's significant in the world of music. I have no idea. But there you go. Now, for those that model railroads in HO scale, this is a good starting vehicle, perhaps, to do some of the customs that I've seen on the internet for the Amazon Prime trucks that we've seen. And it's very affordable, obviously, costing less than $1. So that might be a reason to pick one of these up if you are on the more adult end of the hobby. I might just have to give that a try myself one of these days. Next up, we have Well, let's get this one done. Normally, I am a huge proponent of police cars. I am not a fan of this one at all, basically because I didn't like the real version of this. I just didn't like the way that it looked, and I really don't like it in this livery. Not because I have any issue or take exception with our neighbors to the north, but I just don't like the paint scheme on this. So this is the Chevy Caprice, classic Caprice, and it's in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP, livery. And as you can see, the Caprices had the rear tires halfway covered, I guess is the best way to describe it. Maybe that's one of the things I just didn't like about it. It had that recessed rear end, the wheel hubs that were covered on it. For police cars, I always, and this is really, again, nothing new with modern-day Matchbox emergency vehicles, but I wish they would have their own separate light bar, like they did in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you had a separate light bar piece that was not part of the insert for the windshield and for the glass. It really does detract and take away the look from it. But there was a Dodge Charger released in the same livery, the RCMP livery, very recently. So if you wanted a then and now version of the police cars that are used up there, then you can display both of them for that reason alone. Next up, we have the 62 Volkswagen Beetle, number 97 of 100. I don't know if this is what Mattel and Matchbox were going for exactly, but it does give Mexico City vibes. If you've ever been to Mexico City, which I have fortunately had the opportunity to visit, gorgeous city, even more vibrant and beautiful people. A lot of their taxis, particularly their older taxis, have this green color to it, and this sort of reminds me of a Mexico City taxi. Again, not sure if that's exactly what they were going for, but that's what it reminds me of personally. It reads, Fast on Time Volkswagen. Obviously, you have some sort of, I don't know if that's a unit number, or if it means anything, A-58363, Eagle Eye Limited Incorporated. Another vehicle that has a trailer hitch on the back, and those of you that may be watching this for the first time or may not be totally in tune with the automotive community outside of, toys or collectibles, one cool thing about Volkswagen Beetles is if you pop the hood, you're not going to find an engine. The engine of these are located at the rear. So interesting tidbit there. All right. Next up, let's do this one. I personally like this truck a lot. This is the 15 Ford F-150 contractor truck. Another candidate, that's a good adjective, or verb, I guess, in this case, for the Inc. or INC collection. I don't know why this has not been put in there yet, but this is the contractor, or the construction truck, basically an F-150 with a tire, or with a ladder, an equipment rack in the back of it. This one is in the SUNY Solar, SUNY Solar. Obviously not in the same text or logos for the State University of New York, which would have been great. But obviously they're going for their own deal here, which is nice. You guys let me know what you think of each of these castings, which are your favorite, maybe which of them you found in the store, which ones you want to add to your collection. But again, for those of us that collect the Rannick or the INC or the Inc., this is, I think it was already in Rannick, but I could be wrong, but it definitely hasn't been in Inc. This is one that absolutely should be in that famous blue and yellow scheme. All right, let's get back to stuff we're going to see on the road. How about a 2019 Jeep Renegade in what I'll only describe it as fire engine red. This does appear to be, obviously not under the description fire engine red, but this does appear to be a red factory color for Daimler Chrysler, which it owns Jeep, which actually is now all owned by Fiat. Long story. But the casting of this, I told you one was going to roll away. I can't believe it's only been one so far. The casting of this is pretty nice looking. It's definitely more of a Matchbox scale. It's certainly not 164 scale. It's definitely not 187 scale, maybe somewhere in the middle. But they got just about everything right with this. You have taillights, you have headlights, you have mirrors, which is always appreciated on this, and obviously the sunroof design of this Jeep looks just about good. And as I was describing, if you guys ever wondered, hopefully this will zoom. Auto zoom, there we go. If you look underneath and it says 19 Jeep Renegade, and then it says FCA, that stands for Fiat Chrysler America. So just tying everything together with that. So what do you guys think of the Jeep? All right, I'm running out of space here for all these cards. Let's start with something a little bit different. Start with a couple old classic Fords. Number 85 of 100, the 35 Ford pickup. This has definitely been a favorite, at least around here, because I have seen it on the pegs only once, and I grabbed it. Matchbox Swap Meet Special, it reads. Kind of appropriate. So these are extremely, extremely popular in the automotive car culture community. These are what are known as rat rods, and the idea with rat rods is kind of to take an old truck or an old car and give it a rat rod look by putting a larger rear tire on the rear, smaller rear tires on the front, and giving it that not showroom finish look to it, that worn and weathered look. And this truck certainly fits the bill for that sect of the automotive car enthusiast that enjoys these. If you go to any car show or any, well, let's use the term, any swap meet, you will see at least a few rat rods around. And it's something that's emerged probably within the last decade. I've really seen it take off. But it's been around for as long as, you know, the whole car culture has been around. So what do you guys think of this one? All right, sticking with classic Fords, how about a baby blue 1961 Ford Ranchero? So this truck was Ford's attempt to compete with a couple different vehicles in the late 50s, early 60s that Chevrolet and GM did. I have never really been a fan of this vehicle in real life. It's not proportionate. It kind of was like that that friend you had in middle school that really didn't fit in anywhere. That's kind of what I always looked at these Ranchero trucks. It never really made up its mind of if it wanted to be a car, if it wanted to be a truck. Today we would consider this ahead of its time as maybe the first ever crossover. But back in the 60s, these really were not meant with positivity, if you will. So we have seen this before in green. We've seen it in red. Now it's in baby blue. Again, I've given my 2 cents on it. If you like classic Fords or classic trucks or even classic cars, because technically it could be either or, then this is maybe one for you. I do like the taillights, and I do like Ford that is actually decaled on the back. There, you can see it there. Well, you could see it there. There you go. And then nothing on the front other than the casting detail. Ranchero is on the side, as well as the actual door handle. All right. Got about a handful left. What do you say we should do? Should we go for some British elegance or maybe some American muscle? Now let's get some of the European stuff out of the way. 1956 Aston Martin DBR1 in silver. Say what you want about Aston Martins. Are they overpriced? Yes. Can they be somewhat unreliable because they're built by, well, you know how the story goes. Yes. But, God, they're good looking. I mean, if you think of a classic post-war sports car, this is what you often think of. And man, who cares if it's cold and it's rainy and it doesn't start half the time? God, does it make up for it in looks. There's a reason why 007, James Bond, that whole franchise, why they picked Aston Martin to be the hero car in pretty much every movie. So do I like this? Heck yes, I like it. Do I think it would look better when it was previously released in green? Oh yeah. But silver has its place, especially with Aston Martins. All right, let's continue. with stuff I'll never have enough money to own ever in my life, at least the real version. How about the Bentley Bentayga? This one I like in metallic blue. Depending on the way the light hits it, or how bad your eyes are, it can potentially give off shades of purple, but it's definitely a metallic blue color, as the factory would call it, a factory option. Bentley's best attempt to date at a crossover SUV in terms of a luxury vehicle. This is it. If you want to pick up the kids, get groceries, and do it really, really fast, and do it in style, this is a good option. Of course, personally, I would probably go with the Mercedes G-Wagon, but that's me. So that's the Bentley. Great looking front end, great looking taillights. I love the decision they went with for the blacked out interior with the tinted plastic for the glass. This is definitely a forerunner for one of the Matchbox Basic Range castings of the year, in my opinion. All right. We'll save the last two American cars for last. We'll get this one out of the way. This is the 2020 Audi TT RS Coupe, or Coupe, number 16 of 100. Lots of blue in this mix. Again, this is more of a lighter shade of blue, bordering on a baby blue color, in my opinion. I believe this is a new casting for this year as well. It is a 2020 model year anyway. Perfect taillight decos. Obviously the perfect Audi at the rear. You have TT and RS for Rally Sport. Check out the front grille of this. That just doesn't scream Audi. Nothing will. Certainly aggressive looking. Very, very modern looking. Definitely a great looking coupe car for sure. I hope that we see this in some other colors, because I just don't think this color gives this car justice. Perhaps maybe a red or even a black would really make this car pop and come alive. All right, thank you guys for sticking with me. Let's end the video on a high note with two favorites from Detroit. We'll begin with a more modern version. This is the 2018 Ford Mustang Convertible. I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. I'm not a huge fan of convertibles personally. They have their place, as pretty much everything does. I would probably never buy a convertible unless it was obviously a steal. But this one, I think, looks decent. It has that black pearlescent or translucent Spectra paint job that Matchbox often likes to use, and so does Hot Wheels to some extent. You can see it sparkling. And the choice of gold wheels, I think, really was not wise for this. I don't think it looks that great. I think a hardtop version of this Mustang would have been much, much better. But the taillights on the 2018 and current versions, 2018 and future versions of the Mustang, what I like to call, and I know it's not the technical terminology, but the three-piece taillights are always awesome on the Mustangs. And again, most of you guys will know this, but if you see them on the roads, they act as the turn indicators as well, and they will illuminate one by one, depending on what direction it's turning. So, for example, if the car is turning right, this one will light up first, then this one in quick succession, which I always thought was cool and a nice touch. All right. So, undisputably, I think the best car out of this whole mix, and I think everybody, at least the past, I think I've watched 5 or 6 at this point, 5 or 6 different unboxings and reviews on YouTube by fellow Matchbox creators. It seems to be the common consensus that this one right here is by far the best one out of this mix, and honestly, I have to agree. 1970 Ford Capri. Now, normally, if there was a fire truck, a better-looking cop car that wasn't a mid-90s Chevy, perhaps a realistic construction vehicle, maybe a truck, obviously, that's more of what I'm into, so maybe that would have been my favorite. But honestly, hands down, let's not delay it any further. This thing just looks really, really good. Again, that silver with the black racing stripes across the hood really just looks spectacular on here. Obviously, it just looks fast, as evident by the fact that it wants to roll off here and take off. Good choice of the plastic window tint to give it that realistic glass finish with that slightly blue tint to it. Yes, they could have added some detail for the taillights and for the turn indicators, but at least we have headlights, at least we have Ford, and at least we have the racing stripes. Again, it's easy to detail and do taillights yourself if you want to. Overall, great job on this casting. I definitely think that this will be in the Matchbox Basic range for years to come. I think this might be like the Honda, what was it, the CC or whatever it was last year. This might be the breakout car of this year that becomes so popular that as soon as it gets put on the pegs, whether it's the store employees or the collectors that are first in the door, this is going to be the one that's very, very difficult to get. So there you go, guys. That concludes my opening, unboxing, and general overview for Mix 2 of the 2021 Matchbox Basic range. Please leave your comment down below. Which of these is your favorite? Which one do you want? Do you like this kind of video? I would love to do more of these in the future, but honestly, it really depends on if you guys enjoy it and whether or not it's worth the investment to do it. So please, leave your comments, good and bad, down below. As always, I'm Tommy with Diecast Emporium. Thank you all so much for watching. Be safe. Happy collecting. I'll see you in the next review.